Okay, we will begin our human rights meeting. We can start out with roll call.
Kenny Adden, Shinwar Mai, Sihama Mehdi. Here. Jennifer Tresca.
Here.
Mikal Pauling Norbandine.
Here.
Deb White. Here. Rachel Stone. Tanya Kunza. Here.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a land acknowledgement. We, the Moorhead Human Rights Commission, collectively and with gratitude acknowledge the sacred land the city of Moorhead is built upon. We acknowledge the people who have resided here for generations and recognize that the spirit of the Dakota, Ojibwe, Métis, and all indigenous communities permeates this land. The contribution of the indigenous people shall not be forgotten, nor will the success that is achieved by the people of the land. We will continue to educate, advocate, honor, and unite for indigenous people of this land. The next item on the agenda is agenda approval, or if there's any amendments, I'll give you, and what's not on here, but the minutes, that's next. We'll do the amendment and the minutes all at one time. You guys had a chance to look those over?
I move to approve both the agenda and the minutes from our September 21st meeting. Second that.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, hearing none, the agenda and the minutes from the September 21st, 2022 meeting minutes are approved. And we'll just move to a guest speaker.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate this opportunity. We had an opening. The speaker we originally planned wasn't able to come tonight, and so we were talking about, as we have the Yes 56560 vote coming up, that there are some things that are particularly relevant to the things that we work on here in the Human Rights Commission, and so we thought it would be a good place to get out some information about the Yes 56560 campaign. So I'm going to back this up a little bit. We tested it out. There we go. Great. Okay. So what we're talking about is the campaign to encourage people to vote yes for a local option sales tax that will be a half-cent sales tax, and it'll be on the ballot in November for the city of Moorhead to raise funds for a new regional library and community center. And as I said, I really thought it would be valuable for us to think about how having a new library and community center is relevant to some of the work that we talk about. When we think about what a library does, a lot of times we think about it in a more narrow way. And there's many things that a library does that is really essential, in particular for people from marginalized communities. I can speak even from my own personal experience as a kid growing up in a low-income family. We didn't have a lot of books in our house, and having the ability to go to a public library and have access to things that could really open up my mind and my dreams to all different things was life-changing. And I know that had we not had that in our community, that it really would have changed my educational trajectory. And that's an easy thing to think about, but there's so many other things that a library does beyond even just providing books. And so nowadays, when we think about the work that they do in a library, the work that our librarians do, things like technology. If you think about folks that may not have internet access or may not have computers in their home, there's a lot of things that many of us take for granted that we have in our homes that aren't things that everybody has. So if you want to be able to be on a computer and do things like search for a job or find out information about social programs, or even just stay in contact with your friends and family. If you don't have those things in your home, one of the places that you can go is the public library. It's important for lots of other things too. We know even in, to be quite frank, even folks that are within our unhomed community in Moorhead, it provides for them just a safe and warm place to go at times. The librarians are there to help them, even just to help provide information about how they may be able to not just come in for a while and warm up and relax, but also to get information about different resources that are available to them. And even just small things, like I think about, we've had volunteers at our library that have done things like knitted hats and mittens, and they make a mitten and hat tree that they just make available for folks like children who may not have those warm winter clothing accessible. So there's so many things like that that a library does that we don't necessarily recognize and are really important. Unfortunately, if you've been in our library lately, you probably noticed that it's an aging building, but there's a lot that you don't see. And it's been there since 1962, and it's really, while it's a nice, architecturally, it's an interesting building, it's really outlived its ability to meet the needs of our community. I will just say there's nothing that even drives this point home more than some of the things they experienced this week when they had an explosion in their HVAC system that actually caused a power outage in the neighborhood. They've lost their heating, they have leaking roofs. I know for years, this has been, for the city of Moorhead, one of our top in terms of red-rated buildings that need work. This one sort of tops the list, and we've tried things like patching the walls repeatedly, but they still have a lot of seepage. So it really is not capable of any longer just sort of meeting the needs that we've had. And beyond that, we're a growing community, and so we really need to do more to make sure that we're investing in that. Along with that, we have done research. I'll just mention, I won't go into detail, but we've done feasibility, the library has done a feasibility study, so we have data to back up the need for a new library. Beyond that, too, one of the other things that we frequently hear is that people would like a new community center. Moorhead is the fastest, Clay County is the fastest growing county outside of the Twin Cities, and most of that is in Moorhead. And we frequently hear that people are looking for new places to take their family, particularly in the winter, new sources of support. And again, I think about how this is something that will in particular benefit some folks from our marginalized communities. Things like having a place to go and have an indoor walking track are nice, but not everybody can afford to, for instance, have a membership at the Y or at other fitness places. And so making something that is accessible to everybody is really important. One of the really wonderful things that we learned recently is the city of Moorhead is on track to get $1 million from the federal government for an entrepreneurial center that would be housed within our community center, and that would help new entrepreneurs that are trying to start new businesses. And again, for folks, if you're just trying to start a new business and you don't have a lot of resources, you may not be able to afford to pay for office space or a standalone place for your new business. And so we will have space in there where people can start up their businesses. It'll have some workspace available for them. So again, creating those economic development opportunities for folks who maybe wouldn't have those opportunities otherwise. And when the committee did their research to figure out where this should be placed, they really tried to think about how do they make sure that this is something that is accessible. So you can see the list of the different considerations that that were put into place when they selected the location of it. And I want to highlight in particular that one of the things they wanted to make sure that it was in our downtown area and that it was something that had access to public transportation. And so again, if we have other areas of Moorhead that are growing, but if we put it out in some of those other areas, it would mean that it may be more accessible to some people than it is to others. So really thinking about the people that may have the most need to use the resources in our new library and community center and making sure that that is most accessible to those folks. And so if you haven't heard, the location that we've selected would be part of what is currently the downtown Moorhead Center Mall. And so you can see we've actually been working on this since May of 2021, just to be able to do this, to request to be able to have a local option sales tax. We had to first get legislative approval. The state of Minnesota is very particular about these, and so we had to put together a budget and a timeline. This local option sales tax wouldn't be a permanent tax. It's a half-cent sales tax, which expires when you either meet the amount that you have requested or the time that you've requested, or whichever comes sooner. And once that happens, then it would expire. So we were able to get legislative approval back in 2021, approval from the council in 2022. We've been getting a lot of citizen input. I know that even our former HRC chair, Connie Odden, has been one of the members of that citizen group that's been giving input on what this community center would look like. And as I said, now we're moving along in the development. We have some proposed, some models to show you of what it might look like, and then we're putting it to a vote here in November. And so I mentioned the location of it, and this is not set in stone, but to give you an idea of the vision of what we're looking at, what you see here is what we're thinking about of what is currently the space for the Moorhead Center Mall. And the building, you'll see in a second, I'll zoom in on it, but it's sort of towards the upper left. The second one in is where our library and community center would be. So it would be on Center Avenue, right in our downtown area. And if we zoom in on it, you can see this is sort of a concept of what we're looking for. But really what we're thinking about is a place that would use space to build community. There's lots of places that would draw people in, for people to gather both outside and inside. It's the area that we're looking at, we are proposing that it be much more bike and pedestrian friendly. And we're also looking at something that would celebrate the culture and history of folks throughout our community. So one of the things with the architects that we talked about is we want lots of places for public art, and art that really reflects everybody and celebrates everybody in our community. And so what are some of the ideas of what this modern library would look like? I mentioned, we want to do things that would give people activities to do all year round. And so one of the things that we plan on doing is putting in a walking track in it, lots of light. So again, in those dark, in those really cold days in winter, you'd have a bright place that you could go indoors to get some exercise. One of the downsides of our current library, if you know, it's one big open area, and this would sort of parcel off some areas, and so this would be a children's area, and it's designed in a way so that kids could play, that they could have fun, and they could engage with reading as kids do, which is a little harder when you have adults and children in close proximity in a library. Our traditional way of thinking about it is that kids in the libraries are supposed to be very quiet, but here's a place where they could really enjoy themselves and foster their love of learning. And then, as I mentioned, we're looking at, for our community space, for the community center, really something that brings the community together. As an example, we want to have a cafe in there and lots of places where people could gather publicly, but also have even meeting space. So again, it's like small nonprofit organizations, it may be prohibitive for them to have to rent out spaces in other places, but we would have that space available for different organizations to meet and to be able to help to gather and build their organizations. And again, lots of opportunities for people to be active, including an indoor playground. So we want to celebrate the outdoors and our indoors. And so this would be a model of what we're hoping to have, would be an indoor playground that kids could play in the winter. And then this building would be pretty close to the natural playground that we're on track to build right along the Red River on the other side of the building. And I just want to show you too, we got a cool climbing wall too. So again, I think that this is something that would benefit our entire community, but in particular, we've been trying to be very mindful of how we make sure that folks who don't necessarily have access to some of the things that you would have that we're talking about, they wouldn't have necessarily have access to elsewhere, that this is something that will be very accessible to them. And so we feel very strongly that this would benefit the community. And the big thing then is trying to figure out how to pay for it. And so the reason that we settled on a local option sales tax, because I will tell you, one of the downsides sometimes of sales taxes is they can be regressive because all of us have to buy food and clothing and things like that, and we pay the same sales tax rate regardless of what our income is. Fortunately, in the city of Moorhead, food and clothing are tax exempt, so it wouldn't affect those basic necessities. The other reason that we felt that this was a good way to go is because we did a study that showed that 30% of our revenue from sales tax in the city of Moorhead comes from outside of Moorhead. And so if this is a regional library and community center, it made sense that we spread that out among people who are also going to come in who aren't from Moorhead and will benefit from our new library and community center. It also then helps to alleviate some of the pressure on property taxes. So again, being mindful of things that will, not necessarily make housing less affordable in our community. I mentioned before that the timeline for it, we have some information if you want to see where it would put us. We would still be on par with the other side of the river in terms of what sales taxes are there. And again, what we're looking at is this would allow us to raise the about $31.5 million that we would need, estimated that we need for this project. And we would have 22 years to do that. If whichever of those comes sooner, that's when the local option sales tax would expire. And so this will be on the ballot on November 8th. And so we'll see if the community feels like this is a sound investment. If you want more information about the Yes 56560 campaign, feel free to go to the webpage. You've got the URL here. Talk to people about it, get the word out in the community about this. And I know if you're interested in supporting, they're looking for people who might take a lawn sign or donate to the campaign or wear a shirt or all of the above. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Covered a lot.
Yeah, you covered all of it. So the site isn't going to be the old library. It's not going to be added on to that. That's a lot of the question that's coming in from people. It's like, well, what's going to happen with the old library?
Right.
So is there a plan for that structure? I know it's having issues, but is there...
Right now, and so yes, it would not be at the current library site. It would be moved a few blocks over. And the nice thing with that is we could work on building the new library while still keeping the old library open. So we would have a seamless, transfer that, we wouldn't have a time where we have no library or people were trying to access the library while construction is going on and things like that. So that's a benefit of it. And I actually, since it is regionally owned, I'm not sure what would happen with it. They may consider selling it or perhaps put it to other use. But as far as I know, I don't know of any discussion right now of what would happen with the existing building.
So when we talk about 30% of the money for the project coming from other sources, but are other people, or is that going to be added onto their property tax with the regional, or is that?
No,
because
so
they
it
won't
just
have
means
that
great,
sales
yes.
tax.
Yeah, so it was just a study that we had some folks from, I believe, University of Minnesota that looked at our current revenue from sales tax. And so they looked at a point in time, here's what we brought in a certain time, who was paying for that? And so they can track some information about who's shopping in Moorhead. And it was nice that we have a lot of people coming in from outside areas. So for instance, if you think about a great store like Runnings, if folks are coming from, say, Dilworth or Hawley to buy things, that sales tax that they generate is part of what would contribute to it. So they're not Moorhead residents there, but when they shop in Moorhead, anybody who's shopping here pays our sales tax. And so by adding this, we would be increasing the amount that people are paying for sales tax. That additional half cent half a penny that would go on to our current sales tax rate for anything that you would purchase in Moorhead that is taxable.
And that's not, that sales tax wouldn't be, I mean, I don't know what Fargo and West Fargo's is, but we're not going to be over what they have, right?
No.
Was it?
No,
Okay.
and actually, I think I probably rushed through it. I don't know if I can go back to that.
I think there was a slide, but I can't remember.
Is. Yes, and I believe they were also just raising theirs, and so we would still be, I think, just below where, yeah, let's see if I can get,
Because I feel like a lot of people come and shop over in Moorhead because, I mean, I used to when I lived in North Dakota, I'd come over here and shop because you didn't have the
Yeah.
sales tax, yeah.
Still not on food and clothing.
right.
Right, but if you come over and go to like Target or something,
Okay.
I mean, do you ever just go for groceries?
No,
Right, I
right,
mean,
right.
Yeah, so we are currently, in Moorhead, our sales tax is 7.375%. And in Fargo and West Fargo, they're at 7.5%.
okay.
Okay? So, yeah, we would still, and then West Fargo is looking at increasing theirs, so they have something on the ballot to increase theirs. So they're already ahead of us and they're looking at increasing. And so we would stay below where they are.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm. And it is important. We want to make sure that we maintain that competitive, we want people to come here and not feel like they're at a disadvantage if they shop here.
Yeah, well, because even like up in North Fargo, there's really no shopping. So it's easier just to come right across the river than go all the way down
Yes.
somewhere else in town. So
Mhm.
that's good.
Yes.
Did it have a estimate, I mean, so like if this passes, was there a date as to when they think that this would be started?
Well, the whole project, they're planning on starting next year.
Okay.
Now, the library community center part of it, we have to wait until November. We can't really say for sure, but we've been doing a lot of the groundwork, but the whole project, they plan on doing in phases and starting in 2023. And so if we have approval, I think that I'm assuming that we would be able to start, because I think the location of it is in the phase that they want to start.
Okay.
This would be on the south side of the current Moorhead Center Mall.
Like kind of where, like in front of where, right across from the US Bank?
Yes,
Is
on
that
the
kinda
center
where it
Ave.
looks like it? Okay.
Yes, uh-huh. And we're also, we wanted to be mindful that we don't take up too much of the real estate there, and it'll be nice because it shows that the city kind of has some skin in the game, but then we've also got a lot of space there still. They're planning on doing retail on the bottom and residential above it, so more housing and also more places for people to shop. But this would be something that would draw people in, and then while you're there, you might go over to one of the stores to do some shopping, to one of the restaurants, and really have something that would be, a more active and vibrant downtown.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I don't see any citizens be heard, and I'm assuming Rachel is here? Yes. Welcome to our fun party that we have. No, Chris isn't here, so we're not going to do the law enforcement update. Regular business, the Human Rights Recognition Award nomination form that has been sent out. Is it on the Facebook page, on the city's Facebook page? Okay. I tried to find it yesterday, but I could, lack of searching.
Site, but I don't know if it's on the Facebook page yet. I wasn't able to find that.
Okay.
But it should be live and closes November 7th.
Yes. So if you want to check on that, make sure it's on there. I had some other, have we gotten any?
Yeah, I was gonna
When did
say.
we send it out? Have we gotten anything yet?
No nomination.
I think once we have the Facebook link and can get it out that way, that helps a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, if you can just share it. Usually
Yeah.
I see Deb share something and then I share it again. Deb's our sharer. Any more comments on that? Are you guys working on?
We're in the process
Okay.
of doing things.
Yes.
I just wanted to add too, I think besides just sharing it on Facebook, I think I have found in the past, like reaching out one-on-one to folks that you think should apply or folks that you think should nominate somebody makes a big difference. And so if you have someone who you think is doing some great work related to human rights, and you can either contact them and say, would you have somebody nominate you? Or if you know somebody that, could nominate them. But I just think that sometimes, I'm glad all of you share my post, that you see my stuff and share them. But I just think sometimes doing that one-on-one and telling people you should do this, that makes
And
a
we
big
can't
difference.
nominate anybody, right?
No.
Okay, just so you know.
And it was a total of 3 this year, right? That'll be chosen?
Last year, did we do 3?
I think we just decided based on how many things we had. Yeah,
How many nominations we get?
Got it, thank you.
because if we only have like 2 or 3. Yeah. Anything else on the Human Rights Award?
I brought that up, and it's a go, it's a yes for us to be able to have the reception beforehand.
Oh, good.
so.
That's
Okay.
great.
And we were talking about doing it before the city council meeting? Okay.
Tanya, do you have the date on that? Of which city council meeting would that be?
I believe it's December 12th.
December 10th is Human Rights Day, right? I believe. Why is that in my head?
Yes, because it's on our
Oh,
schedule.
because it's right there.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Reception be hosted here?
Yes, because this is where we have the city council meeting. So it would it actually would work really well then to have it out in the atrium area.
Oh, yeah.
We could have it out there.
It is December 12th.
Great.
Okay.
And then it's nice, they can bring their family, friends and family.
All right, we can move on to subcommittee reports.
We don't have anything yet, but hoping with the nominations coming in and the reception, maybe we can get things going.
Okay, perfect.
And I mean, I guess Pangea's coming up, we could talk about.
Yeah, actually, when you talk about Pangea, Tanya, I know we had talked about doing like a sign-up genie to the group and to sign up to help out with Pangea.
I will do that.
Okay, and then, I don't know who would do it, but we talked about maybe checking with the Fargo group, what are they called?
Human Relations
Human
Commission?
Relations. I didn't know if that's something that you would do or one of us would do to see if they wanted to join in and help with Pangea. Is that something normally?
You could. I don't see why you couldn't. Yeah. And I brought it up. I mentioned to you that I did report on it at our city council meeting, and I did ask the city council members and the mayor if they were interested in volunteering, and a couple of them did. And so I'll make sure that Tanya gets their names too. One said for sure, and the other one is as long as the time works. But we can also send out, I guess if you want to include the council and mayor in the sign-up genius, that would be great. And then if they, for those that are able to from there. And I also heard from a student group, the social work student organization at MSUM is interested in volunteering at Pangea. So I'm meeting with one of the student leader this week and can find out. So maybe they can help us too.
Okay, so
Yeah.
maybe we do have enough without, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Oh, and we were going to ask to see if there was, I'm reading my notes from the other day, ask to see if it's possible to get money to help get supplies for the break room, or if that's what we're manning, like snacks and water and stuff like that. Okay. And Pangea is November 19th, so that would be before our next meeting? No, after. I think our next meeting is the 16th.
Yes.
Yep, okay. So we have time to really get organized.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I got on that. Did you want to
Yes, I can report, and you should chime in at any point. I'll report for Education and Outreach Subcommittee. So we did get a chance to meet, and our main thing is working on next year's calendar. And so one of the things that we asked at the last meeting is for the commissioners to think about topics and speakers. And so you have a draft, but really this is just to get the ball rolling. We need to work at setting our calendar for next year. And for our new commissioner, so the Education and Outreach Committee, Commissioner Stone, we work on, every month we have a different topic, and then we'll typically bring in a speaker on a particular topic. And it's meant not just really to educate us, but for all the folks that are watching us on public access television or on YouTube, but, and we've also been working on getting the word out if we want, if people want to come to it for some of these topics. And so that's something that we'll follow up and do more of later. But we're working on setting next year, so these would be the topics and speakers starting in January of 2023. And so what you have in front of you is just a draft, and I thought we could run down through this, but please interrupt at any point, because these are just for our subcommittee. We just brought these as possible suggestions, but we're very eager to hear if you have other ideas. So we'll start with January. That is Human Trafficking Awareness Month. And we thought that we would keep that because we weren't able to bring in a speaker this last year. And so we haven't had a chance to have someone speak on that topic. And so we'd like to find a speaker on the topic of human trafficking. Okay, so that's what we had for January. February.
Have anybody?
Yeah,
Yes.
I think I might know someone that, our YouthWorks is also hiring someone in that sector. I think they just posted it, and I think Nancy Boyle, who used to work at the Village.
And Rape and Abuse Crisis Center.
Yeah, would be good, because she used to work in that sector. I could reach out to her too, so.
That'd be great.
Great, yeah. Okay, and then February is Black History Month, and we thought it would be great, also in preparation for Juneteenth, if we had speakers in who have been working on Juneteenth celebrations in Fargo. And so the two people we put down were Faith Dixon and Fred Edwards, who organized two of the Juneteenth events in Fargo this last year. And what we thought is if they would talk about what they're doing. And I think this is one of those where it's, we want to be supportive. We're not going to impose, but if there's a chance that we could collaborate and support and do something together, then that might be a place to have that conversation. So that's what we were thinking about for February. For March, we actually were looking for suggestions. It is International Women's History Month. If you had any suggestions for topics that were tied with that, or if you have other things that you think would be valuable, we'd love to hear them.
I think being the climate of the world right now with what's going on in Iran, and women, some of them losing their rights to religious expression and some of them being forced, I think it'd be really important to talk about that in March. I know there's a professor at NDSU that started a discussion regarding that, and I can reach out to that professor as well.
I think that would be great.
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Knew you guys would have
Yes.
good ideas.
We're a team, right?
That's right.
Then April is Fair Housing Month. And so we thought we would keep that. And we had questions for you, Tanya. I know before we had partnered with High Plains Fair Housing Center to provide an educational seminar. That was on this year's, and we didn't do that. And I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, or just in general, again, this is your area of expertise more than any of us. And so if you had any thoughts on a speaker from that group or on fair housing issues.
I will definitely look into this and get back to you guys on that,
Okay.
but for fair housing.
Yeah.
I wonder if we had that on there years ago. We helped pay for like video. Do you remember that, Deb? Maybe you weren't even on the commission by then. We helped pay for videoing of a speaker who was, I think, with High Plains Fair Housing somehow or another. They did a seminar and we helped pay for the videoing it and distributing that.
I think that was before I was on the commission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what that was from, and it just is carried over through the years. I don't know. Okay.
So yeah, we'll wait for your suggestions on that. And you can see this is, if you look at one of the columns, we have certain proclamations that we make every year, and for all of them, we recommended that we keep all of them. So the first one would be that April proclamation to declare April as Moorhead's Fair Housing Month. So if you have other suggestions for proclamations, or if you feel that we shouldn't have one, then feel free to mention that. Okay, for May, that was where that is national, in that month, May 5th is National Day of Awareness for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women. And we weren't able to bring in a speaker this year, and we would like to bring in a speaker in next year who does work on local MMIW issues. So I know Representative Ruth Buffalo was going to and wasn't able to come this year. And so we, either she or some other folks that work on that issue in the community. And then for June, we thought, because June is Pride Month, but it's also here in the Fargo-Moorhead area, we actually celebrate, FM Pride is August, while June is Pride Month. But so what we thought is that would be a good place to get a jump start on the work that we'll do in August with FM Pride. And so for speakers, we thought it would be good to bring in somebody from FM Pride or Pride Week, some of the organizers, to talk about what they're doing and how we might be involved. So we typically, we'll have a booth, we participate in the parade, and just have that conversation. We were a sponsor, the city of Moorhead was a sponsor this year, so it seemed like that would be a good time so that we can have some time to prepare. So if we have it in June, we'll be ready for August. And that is also, we would perhaps participate in Juneteenth, but again, we'll have to wait and see about that. And we have 2 proclamations that we had, that we made last year that we are recommending we keep those. And then July, that is Disability Independence Day. And in light of that, we wanted to recommend that we invite somebody from CCRI or a similar organization who could speak on resources to help folks with disabilities live independently. Yes.
If we weren't going to go with CCRI, another option would be the West Central Regional Quality Council. I'm on that council, and we're currently drafting our 2022-2023 work plan.
When we were talking, we thought Jen would probably have the best recommendation. So I would think you have the best ideas for this. So, yeah.
That'd be fine. We just were throwing ideas out. That was
Yes.
the only one I could think of. I'm like, I know there's places.
Absolutely, I can reach out to them.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Could you send me or to Tanya what you just said, the West Central Regional, give me the whole name? Yeah.
I will do.
Great, thanks. Great. And then we would start working on our 2024 plan in that month. In August, we would do the Pride booth. That's where, and we wanted to ask you, Tanya, one of the things listed is consultation on our community development block grant 5-year plan. I'm assuming that that is required by the federal government, right? That we do have mandatory like consultation stages, right?
Correct. And the 5-year plan currently goes through 2024. But every year with our annual plan, we have community and participation for the community for input on that as well. So
Great, okay, so we'll keep that on. We talked about having a guest speaker about Pangea, because again, trying to work ahead. So if we have a speaker that presents on it, then we'll be ready to participate in November. And also perhaps, this is something we talked about this year too, is have a conversation about Greater Moorhead Days activities that may be related to commission's work. And to be honest, the one that we thought of most is the inclusive picnic. But if there are other events that seem to be relevant to the work of this committee, we could have people come in and speak on that. Okay, moving on. September, we had, we suggested that in planning for, because October will be Indigenous Peoples' Day, so that we should have a speaker from the Indigenous Association. And to be honest, just keep that in mind. Next year, Moorhead will be hosting Indigenous Peoples' Day. So we share it with the city of Fargo. And so next year, so we really need to be preparing before then, but that could be more of a publicity, to share information with the public, while the events subcommittee will be working with them ahead of time. Assuming that we continue our current partnership with the Indigenous Association. You want to hit the 3 dots.
Okay, there you go.
I was gonna give a recommendation for a guest speaker for Pangea. I don't know if you ever had Yok Sim come, but she was the founder of Pangea, so she can come in and speak about that.
I think she has in the past, and then this year, Maureen Kelly Jonasson came. I think Yogsim couldn't, but Gunaratne. So Yogsim Gunaratne. Right, and then just a couple more months here for October. That is when we would be celebrating Indigenous Peoples' Day, but we're speaking about it obviously the month before. So we wanted your suggestions on a speaker. We have, we'll be soliciting nominations for the Human Rights Award. We'll be acknowledging Indigenous Peoples' Day, but do you have any speakers in mind for a topic?
Has the commission ever had Willard Yellowbird come and speak?
Willard was a commissioner
on the
for a
commission.
number of years.
I forgot.
Yeah.
Well, I, that was before my time, but I know he does a lot of work with within the community as far as. But he was
And actually, what might be nice in particular, he does a lot of work with Indigenous veterans.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that might be a topic, if he will, to have him speak on that.
Well, let's put his name down.
November is Native American Heritage Month, and that's when Pangea takes place. We'd be soliciting our nominations for HRC, and one of the things that we put down, because unless we do this next month, we would like to have a speaker from AADA come in, so from Afro-American Development Association. But we weren't sure if that's on the schedule. We have it on our schedule for next month, so if it fell through, we would do it next year, I think is what we were
I
thinking.
know I spoke with Ken Foster, and he will be presenting in November since he couldn't make it for October's
Okay,
presentation.
on Resilient Moorhead. So should we keep this for next year then?
Yeah,
Okay,
I think so.
okay.
I would also recommend Christy Goulet.
Oh.
She has I know she works with Indigenous, she has
Yes,
a
she's a
nonprofit
s-
and she does a lot of work with
She's a
Moorhead
storyteller,
Public Schools,
too.
so yeah.
Yeah, she would be good. I've heard her speak too. And then we would have some of our Human Rights Award winners at our December meeting. So we usually do both December and I think January, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
We split it over 2 months. So we didn't have any other speakers in mind for December. And again, you can just see the other proclamations that we have. So that's what we have for you for recommendations. Any other suggestions or thoughts on it? So unless my fellow subcommittee member has anything to add, I don't have anything
No,
else.
I'm super glad that you guys had some good ideas. We were just kind of, I just don't want to have the same speakers over and over and over again, so we need to branch out and get a little more creative, I think. So I think that's good. Good.
I think the big thing now is looking at promoting these too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we were, okay, because we were doing that flyer, and then, so that would be nice. Were you working on that?
I was on the tail end of
The
that
beginning,
flyer.
the tail end of
Yeah.
it, okay. So I wonder if we were gonna try and put a template together of some sort,
Mhm.
so, okay.
And then we could have sort of change it every month. We created a template. Marissa Allering, one of our other
Right.
subcommittee members, created a template for a flyer. And the nice thing about it is it also includes just information about the HRC.
Right.
But if we had something on social media that then every month we were sort of, we've got a template, and then we insert the topic and the speaker and
Okay.
get that out, would be great. Yeah.
Do you know if you have that?
I'm pretty sure I probably do. I have all of Josh's
Okay.
information, so.
All right, well, it's something Marissa had created, so I don't know if it was sent to you or not. We'll check on that.
So I know prior to COVID, there was like the Fargo Moorhead Welcome Committee. I don't know if there's a separate one on the Moorhead side, or is that something that's still ongoing?
Good question. So Welcome Week, yeah, it was kind of on hold for a while, but now they were kind of bringing it back. And I think that's part of what we might hear with the Resilient Moorhead folks, because the West Central Initiative gave out some grants to help with that. They were helping kind of get Welcome Week. I don't know if anyone else heard this, but get it back.
Did you go
It
to
started, yeah.
Right.
There was a picnic for Welcome Week. I know on the Fargo side they had Welcome Week they had different events, community events, neighborhood events. There was a picnic in Gooseberry as a part of Welcoming Week, but there was nothing specific to Moorhead that was done. So
We'll have to check. And when was that? Was that just last month?
yeah, I want to say September, early September is National Welcome Week, I
Mhm.
think.
Okay.
Yep, September, the second week, third week, September 8th through the 17th.
Wondering if we need to add that in, like, I don't know who would be in charge, or, I mean, we maybe need to find that out.
I think, could the events subcommittee,
Yeah, I was
if
gonna
you
say,
get
we
some
could
information,
talk
and then we,
about that.
yeah.
We
Okay.
can talk about, yeah.
And that's the other thing is we could then, anything that you come up with, we could add into the plan, into the schedule.
Okay. Yay. Okay, I think that wraps up our subcommittee reports. Reports, announcements, and upcoming events. Anybody? No? I'm like reading my notes that other than Pangea in November 19th, Saturday. Um, and votes event, voting, do it, go out and vote.
Oh, I have one thing.
Yeah,
I just wanted to thank Brandon Beatty and the Indigenous Association for what they did last month, the work that they did for Indigenous Peoples Day. I got a chance to attend the breakfast, and it was great. It was nice. I liked the event that we did at the previous year on the bridge, but being able to get together with folks over a meal was really wonderful and have some good conversations. And so I like that they started that, and we'll see what we do next year. But I just appreciated the work they did. And then the folks that organized there were 2 powwows. There was one at Moorhead High School and there was one in Fargo. And I know I didn't get to go to the Fargo one, but the Moorhead one was great. And so just wanted to give a shout out to the folks that organized that too.
wonderful, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, then I guess we are adjourned.